Welcome, welcome, welcome to the 34th Annual Trickster Festival.
My name is Isaac Thomas. I'm the managing director here.
My name is Keith Barker. I am artistic director here. I'm a member of the Métis Nation of Ontario. My grandfather was born in Mattawa, but I was raised in mostly Treaty 3 territory, but also Robinson Superior Treaty territory.
Native Earth wouldn't be here without our predecessors. We'd also like to thank the original storytellers of this land, the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Anishinaabe, including the Chippewa, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. The festival is about the next generation of storytellers. However, before that,
we'd like to thank our funders, the Canada Council for the Arts, the Ontario Arts Council, the Toronto Arts Council, the City of Toronto, and also Heritage Canada has always been a longtime supporter of the festival.
Foundations, Metcalf, Chalkers, Hal Jackman, particularly Kingfisher Foundation, Toronto Foundation, the Pat and Tony Adams Freedom Fund for the Arts, and the Green Sanderson Family Foundation.
We can't do this work without our staff. So big thank you to Brian, who's our venue coordinator, has run the whole festival here in the Aki studio in the last 2 weeks. To Abby, who is our head of marketing, and she's stuck in New York, so we're thinking of you. To our patron services coordinator, Alex. To the head of our Nimiki program, Lindsay. And then also to our administrator, Kristen.
Great. Festival staff, Sue Ballant and Martin Nishikawa.
Awesome. So tonight you are going to see two exciting dance pieces. First, you're going to see Vanguardia Dance, which is a piece by Norma and Olga. And then you're also going to see next is you're going to see Chapter 21, which is Star Marenko. And with that, you're going to see a trailer, you're going to see a short interview, you're going to see a little bit of me. There's a little bit of energy in my interview. So enjoy, have fun, and thank you again for the festival.
Thank you.
Bing. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. It is my great pleasure to introduce Star Marenko to our Aki studio here at Native Earth, and I would love you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Sure, thanks so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Star Marenko, and it's so nice to be back here at the Aki Theatre. And I am in North Vancouver, is where I live right now, in the territory of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh. And I was born here in Ontario, in Stratford, and came out to Vancouver as a young person. And I, my mom's side of the family, though, we're from the Moose Cree First Nation up in northern Ontario at the mouth of James Bay. And we're also French Canadian on that side of the family. And on my dad's side, German and Prussian. And I'm a dancer and a choreographer. I work with Raven Spirit Dance, who you know well, in Vancouver with Michelle Olson. And it really feels like coming here and being here at Native Earth. I always say it feels like coming home. You know, It just feels really good to be here and to be able to share a little bit about my recent work.
That's so great. Yeah, I think that's really important for us, is that people feel like it's home. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Maybe you could tell us a little bit about Chapter 21. Like, we had a great conversation in Ottawa, and we were there for other reasons, for meeting at the Canada Council, and it was really quite exciting for Isaac and I to start talking to you about it. And I would love you to share. We're about to see a trailer, and it's like a really nice, fancy trailer, and it's quite beautiful. And so I would love you to talk about the work and intro it, and then we'll come back and we'll talk more about it.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, the trailer is, so Chapter 21 is a full-length dance theater piece. It just premiered in September in Vancouver. So the trailer you'll see is footage from both the theater piece as well as some, site-specific work when I started to generate some of the material. And then we're going to move into a documentary, which is a work in progress right now. Sophia Wolf is a filmmaker I've been working with, and she's created this documentary that will also premiere next spring. So this is sort of the sneak peek work in progress version, and it shows all of the different amazing collaborators I've been working with, and sort of behind the scenes how Chapter 21 has come to be.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So here it is. Here's the trailer for Chapter 21.
Calculated to be 39.6% chance at 5 weeks. At 6 weeks into the pregnancy, the risk drops to 28.1%, and at 10 weeks, 5, or a 94. NIPT genetic testing at 10 weeks allows for a 99% accuracy detection of the odds of winning 649 jackpot lottery is 1 to 28.1%, and at 10 weeks, 5,000 the odds of having a child are 1%, and at 10 weeks, 5% to false positive. Have a back within heart conditions. Children with trisomy 21. My name is Star Marenko, and I am a dancer, a choreographer, a mother, and I live here in beautiful Coast Salish territory. And this is a story. This is my story. And it's a chapter in my book. And it's called Chapter 21. I had that impulse to just go back into the studio after not dancing for a couple years because of having, having Sammy and having gone through treatment. And so I was like, I'm gonna just go into the studio and see what it is that my body wants to say through going through all this, because it was like mentally I was trying to process it, spiritually, I was trying to process it, but my body had just been through this like war zone, it felt, in terms of what it had gone through. And I was just like, okay, I wanted to give my body permission to express itself. Basically then it's like I've made the decision and now I just need to follow the road, which is learning all about Down syndrome. And this was the note from Michelle about that was another thing I remember you said too, was like, because I was like, well, should I wait till I'm really strong to start dancing again? And you were like, well, you could do it that way, or you could just start dancing and get better that way, right? And get stronger that way. So,
and did you feel that it's giving you some kind of healing?
Yeah, I
like
do.
Dancing, being in the studio, and working.
I feel like it gave me, it has given me this container to hold this and to process it. And so I can go into the studio and be like, okay, I'm working on this scene and trying to discover what this part of the journey was for me. And then once I've discovered that, I'm able to put it in a different compartment, maybe in my mind or in my history of like, okay, that's what it was. And even the piece now has become a chapter of my journey, which is why I call it chapter 21. It's a big chapter, but it's not the only chapter in the book of my life, right? And so now I've got this dance piece that can hold that time, and I can put it there, I can share it, it can get out of me, I guess, and I can pick it up when I need to, look at it, consider it, but I don't have to hold it all in my body. Yeah, so the sensation is resolved, content. I feel like I know
There's hope.
Yeah, and I know what the journey is, even though I don't know what the journey is. Like I know that okay, this is the choice that I made, this is what we're doing, and we'll deal with things as they come along. But it's just like, this is the way we're going. So, yeah. So I feel like. I remember this one day coming down to the beach, and I was feeling really emotional. I had a lot of things going in my mind, and a lot of worry, and a lot of chatter, and all of this medical information and decisions and all of these things going on in my head. And I came down to the water and I just let it all go. I just started crying, and at that moment I saw an eagle that was sitting on top of the welcome figure. And also I started feeling Sammy kicking inside of my tummy, and I said, okay, if you're gonna come and be my baby, I am so happy to be your mama. And even though I'm worried and I'm scared, I promise you that if you come and I'm okay and you're okay, I promise we're gonna come back to this spot. And it's really fun in the summer when the sun's shining and we can stand by the water and play by the rocks. And so I feel like in that moment, on that day, that was the day that I made the decision to walk forward and just to start with one step at a time, do that together. So I was at the beach, and it was this feeling of, and it was rainy, and I remember this decision and this, so I was telling you all these things, not hearing what a music reflection of that would be, but then you would send me, an audio track in a couple days later and be like, what do you think about this? I was like, oh my, yeah, that captures that moment, right? So it was like I could bring in, so I feel like musically you were able to not only create the scene for the audience, but bring back that memory for me to then tap into my body and see what my body wanted to say from that moment. Yeah. lights are really helping to create all these different spaces in the piece. And it's like these little moments or vignettes in my life and my journey that has happened, and I feel like that's starting to come together now with the lights too. It's not this literal linear kind of time, but they're almost more like memories.
Because it was a non-linear kind of structure, that we'd be getting glimpses of different moments, past, present, and future.
They say it takes 21 days to change a pattern. "21 days to reprogram our bodies and our minds." It was also 21 days in between my treatments. So every 3 weeks I knew I would have a date at the chemo clinic, and that I would need to schedule my life around those 21 days. "21 chromosomes. Chromosome 21 is the chromosome that Sammy has 3 copies of, not 2. And they say it takes 21 days.
What's important for me is try to support the movement without taking the audience out of your story.
Right.
Like keeping them in, like, so they're almost not aware that the sound is there, but it's
Right.
moving them emotionally, right?
Right,
So how to do
totally.
that.
You've put in things like the recordings from the doctor's office. Like that's an actual, I was sitting there waiting to go see my doctor, and I'm just
Yeah.
sitting recording, and it was a bit weird because you're kind of like life,
That's
art, life, you know.
unbelievable, like that you were able to do that. or
Yeah, I know. It's kind of, it's a bit surreal when I look back. Maybe it was a coping way, a mechanism, or maybe a thing that helped me just be like, there's going to be something after this. Being back here in the middle of all of this was definitely where a big part of that first year was for Sammy and I. A lot of things happened here in this area. We received our diagnoses here, treatments, a lot of meetings with specialists. My friend and NLP coach, she would always remind me when I would go in for my appointments or go in for my treatments that it can be a pretty intense environment. You know, there's a lot going on, a lot of emotion. Other people, obviously, and lots of machines and things that I didn't understand, a lot of worry. And so she would say to me, you just go in and you find the green, find nature, find the bouquet of flowers at the desk or the color in the painting on the wall, and focus on that, and go in, do what I needed to do, and then pull myself out, call myself back, and continue in the present, in the day. So I did that. I did that for that whole year and a bit, and it's something that I still continue to practice, you know, whenever there's difficult moments in my life. Just go back to nature, go back to my breath, find a moment. And, you know, even here we're in the middle of all these medical buildings and treatment centers, and there's a lot going on, but we found the spot. We found a patch of grass and the trees. It's a place that we can catch our breath. My partner reminded me to focus on a strong body. My mother-in-law told me not to forget to play music, to laugh, to smile. And my Cree elder would hug me tight and say, Beatak, Beatak. Take it easy. Be gentle. Go slowly. where all of those stories and events and material was sourced. I remember we had that conversation about how important it was to identify those places and go back to the land.
Especially with this work, because you had spent such repeat journeys to certain places, like going back to, you know, certain medical places or things like that. Those become landmarks of like what was important for your healing process at that time. It's important to have that, like that be represented visually, I guess, especially in like the documentary, because those places do live in your body, those places of healing.
Like even when I'm in the theater and on stage, it's, you know, certain gestures or certain moments, it takes me right to like that place at the ocean or looking at the mountains, and so it's a really visceral sense. It's not just a movement, gesture, or choreography in that way. When you suggested us to go back to those places again, I had already sourced from them because it was already living in my body, and that's how the gestures came. But then to come back full circle and to almost offer back the choreography or the gesture back to the land that it had come from, there was this beautiful circle that happened, and then it fed me back to when I went back to the studio and back on stage. Through that memory of the land in my body, I can have a breath and I can have a moment, and I think offer that to those who are witnessing the work too, to just have a collective breath.
Being able to know that the work is profound and deserves respect, and the people that are part of that process deserve respect is really important. And that has been, as much as I think that's been the grounding that has been a part of that Indigenous way of knowing and the Indigenous way of holding space, has been about creating that space and holding the space and holding the work in a certain way. Yeah, just having profound respect for the ability to drop into the work and discover what we need to discover.
Which is what I really love about working on this piece, is everyone is just so on the same page, just emotionally wanting the work to be done without pushing it too hard.
I feel like everybody has that awareness too, right? And everybody's so good at what they do, like their individual piece, you know, and yet so generous with each other too, right? Like that. So that's, I think, what creates the space around it that we need, and then we can still do what needs to happen and make it all come together. I was thinking the other day just how it's been so perfect, the point in time that you came into this project too, because it was just at that right time where I think I was ready to open it up and start seeing it as a piece, as opposed to I don't know what it was before then. it was me sharing and trying to figure out what just happened, and then, you know, and then I was sharing it to some people close in my sort of immediate circle, and the first question in the studio when I went in was like, what is, okay, body, like what do you want to tell me here, what's the story? And so it was really from my body out as opposed to my head out. And then when you came and saw a version of it, and we started talking about some of those themes or pieces you were seeing, I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is something that can be shared with a larger piece. And I always remember I had a fear early on, was like, well, maybe it's too personal. Maybe people need to know me to actually feel affected by the story, right? And then we started talking about, no, this is a bigger story for all of us, right?
And everybody is experiencing, I mean, especially now in COVID time, everybody's experiencing the unknowing, the unsureness, the choices that we make and how they are going to impact us, and what we have control over and what we don't have control over, which is kind of what this story is. By the time I was brought into the project, it was like, okay, how does this transcend just your life? How does this transcend your little life, really, and speak to everybody, because everybody's going through losses. Everybody is making hard choices.
Really fulfilled and excited. Yeah, it felt really good to just be in the theater this week. And Yeah, and I just appreciate everybody's generosity and everything that's been contributed this week. It's been so amazing. Yeah, and all of you are just so smart, so good at what you do, and so I just appreciate all of the input of this collective experience. So thank you, love you. You're not going to sleep, are you? And even the cancer part and the whole journey that I went through with breast cancer, that has also found its place in the story. I mean, of course it has. It was a huge part of this chapter, but it's Sammy. He's the part of the ongoing journey where it's just like, now he's a toddler, and then he's going to be a little boy, and then a young man, and that's the part that I find in the piece that is so uplifting for me. Just that hope and that possibility that in the midst of all of the unknown, that little boy is still there, and he's growing and smiling and laughing every step of the way with me.
And we're back. So that's great. That's fantastic. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the it's a hard word, trajectory. The trajectory of the show. Maybe from, from diagnosis, then through to the other side of that, then the idea of the show and how that came to be, and then where it is today.
Sure. Yeah, so, I mean, going further back, it really, I think for the content of the piece really happened when I got pregnant with my son, Sammy, and that would have been, wow, well, he's 4.5 now. He'll be 5 next year, so almost 5 years ago. Got pregnant. We knew that Sammy was going to be born with an extra chromosome, that he would have Down syndrome, and he came into the world happy, healthy. We were so happy he was here, and then 3 weeks after that, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so everything, of course, just your whole world just flipped around, and had to go through treatment. And Sammy had an operation he had to go through, a heart surgery. I went through the treatment, and then about 1.5 years after that, we were both doing really well, and had been held and cared for by our family and friends. And I had this feeling about maybe 18 months after, of just wanting to go into the studio, seeing what my body wanted to say after going through, an experience like that. And kind of at the time did not think at all that this was going to be a theater piece. I was just going into the studio for my own process and integration. And then I invited a few friends and family to witness it, again, just because I wanted to share that, but thought it was just going to be for them. And then one of my friends and mentors, Alvin Tolentino, he was at that sharing, and he said, I think there might be something there that, we might want to consider, that it might be something to share in a bigger way. So I started exploring it that way, started working a bit with Michelle as well, and scenes started, showing up. And then did a few work in progress showings. And then Michelle said to me one day, she was like, I feel like this is kind of really like a theater dance piece. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, we kind of need a theater director's eye on this. Yvette Nolan happened to be in town, and so gave her a call and I said,
lucky.
can you pop by rehearsal and let me know what you think? And she came by and she was like, yeah, she's like, I can help you with this. And, she said she'd be honored to. And I was like, oh, I'd be so honored to have her work with me. And so that's how it started. And in Yvette's magic way, she, put all the scenes on her cue cards and messed it all up and said, let's try it like this. And so we found the arc in that way. And we found the story that was coming through, and we were ready to tech it, premiere it, and then COVID hit. And so we're like, okay. And so we had everybody, we had our lighting designer, costume, stage manager, everybody, and we had the theater booked at the Fire Hall for the premiere. And so I started talking to Donna Spencer, and what are we going to do? And we ended up going in for when we were going to premiere, became the tech, and we all went in. Didn't know if we were going to get shut down or not, but we knew we had a week. And so we're like, let's go in. And we got it all up on stage. Then we tried to premiere it again. It got canceled because of COVID. We had another wave happen in Vancouver. And then third time the charm, we keep saying, was September 2021 this year that we did a week at the Fire Hall. We opened up the season. And the season's still going, so that's exciting. Nothing's been shut down yet.
Right.
And it felt really, really good. So that was sort of the whole trajectory, almost 5 years now. But I feel like it was also perfect the way it happened because I had some time to integrate it a bit more. I had time to feel strong, in my body again. And I just think Yvette and I talk about this, theater and dance, when you have the time to just work it and let it be and, try different things in the theater, you tell the difference, in that kind of work. So it's taken as long as it's taken, but it feels really good now that it's up and now it's officially out of me. We premiered it and we're looking ahead to, next year and the year after of being able to share it with some live audiences in different parts of Canada.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk a lot about that rushing to the stage. Like sometimes work just isn't given the opportunity to breathe.
Yeah.
So when you were doing that, when you're in the process, like it feels really organic. How like it was like inviting people in, and then this person's available, and then an old-time friend who's a longtime collaborator then brings in her longtime collaborator in Yvette. What were some of the triumphs, and then also what were some of the challenges along the way for you?
Yeah, I think the triumphs were that it's, that we were still able to make art. We were still able to do this, right? And I was so grateful every day, and I still am grateful every day that I'm at this place on the other side of my experience, that I can actually talk about it and share it in this way. And so I think the piece itself is a testament to, I'm still here. I went through a really hard thing, and we all go through really hard things in life, but we're all still here, and so that I think is a triumph. I think that the fact that we did take the time we needed to do it, we kept working it, we kept, even Michelle and I were laughing, we're like, we've done everything with this piece except show the piece. We created a documentary, we created, this workshop, we've done these different things, and so it felt really good to then show the piece too. I think challenges probably would have been just the uncertainty of the times we're living in right now. We could, make our best laid plans, but we had to also trust that, things were just going to happen as they were meant to. Yvette and I would go to the theater every day. We're like, well, we're here today. Let's do the work today because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And which is kind of true of life, really. I mean, we don't really know how long we're going to be here, metaphorically, literally, all of that, right? And so I think it just allowed me to just be really grateful and really present to the moment that we do have.
So great. I know, I think that's one of the things of the pandemic that was said over and over again in Zoom rooms that I was in, was this not taking something for granted. Is like we were in a place where theater was happening all the time, and we were part of that cycle, and when it's taken away from you, suddenly you realize how vulnerable it is, or how, delicate and how special it is. So
totally.
That's so great.
Yeah, and I felt that too, even with having our talkbacks with the audiences after the premiere. Like every night we did talkbacks, and it just felt like people were just present in a really different way, you know, after being away from live theater for so long. And so I feel like they were receiving it in an even, you know, bigger way than it might have been, you know, 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, we had that this summer with Christine Friday. We were at Can Stage out on High Park, and it's raining, and we're like, oh, no one's going to show up. And then we forgot, oh, right, this is the first, lots of them like, this is the first show I've seen since coming back. And everyone showed up. Rain, thunderstorms around us, everyone showed up. It was like, it's different. Things are going to be different in the future, so that's great. So what is the future of Chapter 21? What do you have on the horizon?
Yeah, well, there's so as I said, there's the premiere is going to be of the film. The documentary is going to happen in the spring. So Sophia, you know, there was what we shared tonight, but then Sophia was also filming all the way up to opening night. So so it's like, you know, full circle all the way to walking on stage. So and a lot of, you know, different interviews with the collaborators. So that's going to happen in the spring. And then, as I said, we're, you know, talking about different places that we can share it, you know, in Canada and BC, maybe in Ontario, you know, all of those different places. And I think what I'm realizing with this work is it's, because it touches on a lot of things that maybe we don't talk about very openly sometimes. You know, we talk like cancer and Down syndrome and pregnancy loss and all of these hard things to talk about, but the piece gives a container for some of those conversations to happen. So I feel like some of the outreach we've been doing, or just connecting with different communities. You know, I'm going to be teaching a workshop for moms who have children with Down syndrome. I've been, you know, part of that community now for a few years, and talking to other people who've gone through a cancer experience and how does it feel to reconnect back in their bodies. So yeah, there's the work that I want to share with audiences, and then there's all the other things that are kind of trickling out too, that I'm just open and curious to what those will be.
That's so great. Like, I can't think of a better person. Like, you have such it's like a softness or a generosity that you share to be, because those are hard conversations for people to engage with. And that idea of being able to see something and then being able to, you must get a lot of interaction, like people sharing with you.
Yeah, I do. Like, I think too, it's human nature. You know, when you hear somebody shares something quite vulnerable, then people are reflecting back and telling me, you know, a part of their story or a part of something they've gone through. And so, yeah, I do feel that. And I've, people, I got some really wonderful feedback from the show when it premiered, and that's just, I mean, that's so encouraging, and you feel, I don't know if good's the right word, but it does feel really good that you've touched somebody and that you've connected with somebody through your art. And so,
and that you're not alone, right?
Yeah.
Like, you suddenly, you reflect back to them what they also feel. It's like, right, we're not alone in this.
Yeah.
Which is really beautiful.
Thank
I think
you.
the most important question of the whole night, though, is, what does Sammy think of the show?
Well, Sammy, it's funny because I would bring him, I'd bring him to some of the rehearsals and some of the, work in progress. And he likes the music. He's actually has a cameo in it. There's a little bit of Sammy's giggle in the music that Edgardo layered in for me. And so Sammy's voice is in the piece. He's missed his mom when I was away every night for the shows, but we had lots of cuddles when I come home, and I always said, told him how our show went. I never say it's my show, I say it's our show. Yeah, so, and Sammy, his little moccasins are in the piece too, so he's very much a part of it that way, and he loves to sing and dance, so I feel like he came into the theater after when we were wrapping up on the last night, and he kind of, looking around at all the lights and everything. And so, yeah, he feels very comfortable in the theater, and I like bringing him along with me.
It's so great that he echoes throughout the show, right? That his spirit and energy is part of that. It must be really great when you're performing to hear it, and it must keep you grounded.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. It keeps me, reminds me why I'm here, why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's for that little boy.
Yeah. Well, we loved, like, when we were in Ottawa and we talked to you, like, we walked, both Isaac and I walked away. It was like, wow, like this, you were just beaming. Like, it was like this bright light. You were talking about the show, and we were so excited for you. So we're so happy and so excited for you and for the journey that people get to come see the show, and that we hope that it just continues to go out in the world. It's fantastic, and congratulations on everything.
Thank you so much.
And such a pleasure for you to be here. So,
thank
so
you.
Good to see you.
Yay.
Well,
Thank you.
If you can see Chapter 21, anytime, please go see it. It's a wonderful show. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.